on screen. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago and far away, well, back in 1930s New York, a small girl was woken in the middle of the night by her older brother and dragged out of town to the streetlight-free expanse of the local golf course. There, the two of them gazed at the night sky that was transformed by the dancing lights of the aurora borealis, a rare sight as far south as New York. Imagine a small girl looking to her adored brother, 9 years older and wiser, who'd known enough to bring her out to see the northern lights. And it's easy to see how her curiosity was sparked when he told her that no one knew how the aurora happened. The story could have ended here, with a passing awed fascination familiar to many of us, lucky enough to have seen the aurora borealis. It could have ended when the girl was 8 and announced that she was going to be a scientist, only for her mother to reply that women's brains can't cope with science. Or in her 20s, when she was told to write her doctoral thesis on cobwebs, far more useful for the housework that a woman would do. At so many points, it could have ended. Yet two things helped Joan Feynman to go on to a 6-decade career in astrophysics until she died last year, age 93. The first was a note in an astronomy book she received for her 14th birthday. A note that identified a particular chart as based on the work of Mrs. Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin, a female astrophysicist. Apparently, even a married woman's brain could indeed manage science. Feynman now had a role model. The other factor that helped her persist until she became the person who would eventually explain why and how the aurora happened was her brother Richard, who himself became a Nobel Prize-winning physicist. The same brother who had dragged her out to see the aurora and given her that astronomy book had from their childhood been her first teacher, became a healthy competitor, and remained always a constant encourager, believing in her when her own faith wavered. If you're still not sure how much difference the presence or absence of a role model and a supporter can make, take a look at the Torah portion that we'll be studying later today. In chapter 32 of Exodus, the episode of the golden calf is famous. The Israelites angered God by creating an idol and worshipping it. Yet often we gloss over the very beginning of the chapter, which tells us how this episode began. Vayar ha'am ki voshesh Moshe laredet min hahar. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god who shall go before us." The whole episode begins with the people feeling the lack of the man who led them out of Egypt. Without him, when he disappears for so long that he seems lost, they act in ways that do not live up to the best of what they're capable of. Although Moses demands a lot of the Israelites, teaching them commandment after commandment, he's also fiercely loyal to them. Just a few verses into the chapter, we see Moses again acting as their champion, arguing with God on their behalf. Many of us have known what it is to be blessed with a supporter like this, someone unafraid to challenge and stretch us, yet who also unfailingly believes in us and in our ability to meet those challenges and fulfill our potential. It might be a sibling like Richard Feynman. It might be a teacher or a friend. Their encouragement is sometimes all that keeps us from giving up. Just as important as his supportive role, however, is Moses as a role model for the Israelites. Not in the sense of someone they should aim exactly to emulate, especially not in his anger management issues, but in fulfilling his divine task of going before the Israelites to show them the way, to make visible what is possible. And this is where our role models come in, with people who help us imagine that things are possible for people like us. Sometimes this is done formally, with things like the half-empty bookcase, a Jewish women's educational project set up in 1991 by the 15 women rabbis who were then working in the UK. Their efforts to begin to balance the male-dominated literature of Judaism meant that my generation grew up seeing women's writing and women rabbis as something completely normal. Yet perhaps more often, role models accidentally inspire us, and they aren't always career-related. The mother who learns Spanish in her 50s to make a son-in-law feel welcome. The grandmother who masters technology to become a Zoom support for her community. These people remind us never to give up on ourselves. For gender, race, age, none of these need limit what we're capable of. Had Joan Feynman lacked a role model and a supporter, she might have given up. And then we might never have understood the Northern Lights and solar winds and so much more that she researched. But even more, countless girls and women who saw her succeeding as a scientist might never have thought it a career possibility for them. So may we all be as blessed as Joan Feynman in our supporters and our role models, and may our actions in turn help to support and inspire others to reach beyond any limits to our achievements. With that thought, with the thought of the responsibilities that are on us, we're going to resume our service, and Ruth will take us forward with the beginning of an Aleinu.
Reformed Jews are committed to social justice, even as Reformed Jews embrace ritual, prayer, and ceremony more than ever. We continue to see social justice as the jewel in the Reformed Jewish crown. Like the prophets, we never forget that God is concerned about the everyday, and the blights of society take precedence over the mysteries of heaven. A Reformed synagogue that does not alleviate the anguish of the suffering is a contradiction in terms. And that was said by Rabbi Eric Yoffe, past president of the URJ in 1998. It has become axiomatic that to be a Jew is to care about the world around us. To be a Reformed Jew is to hear the voice of the prophets in our head, to be engaged on the ongoing work of Tikkun Olam, to strive to improve the world in which we live. There is a long tradition of faith groups speaking truth to power and advocating for social change. Religious voices have been central in the major social justice causes throughout history, and faith groups have led the way in advancing human rights around the world, seeking protections for women and the LGBTQ community so that they may live free of persecution and violence, and an end to extreme global poverty. Acting as Jewish women of faith, organized through sisterhoods and women's groups, and embracing the values of Reformed Judaism, we continue to bring our progressive Reformed Jewish values to bear in the community at large, as we have done for 100 years. Our faith demands this of us. And this is an abstract adapted from why advocacy is central to Reformed Judaism. It applies just as much to us.
And then all that has divided us will merge, and then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind, and then both men and women will be gentle, and then both women and men will be strong, and then no person will be subject to another's will, and then all will be rich and free and varied, and then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many, and then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old, and then all will nourish the young, and then all will cherish life's creatures, and then all will live in harmony with one another and the earth, and then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
Now we come to the Kiddush, where we think of those who have passed in the last month and those whose Yorkshire it is. There are stars whose light reaches the earth only after they themselves have disintegrated and are no more. And there are people whose scintillating memory lights the world after they have passed from it. These lights which shine in the darkest night are those which illumine for us the path by Hannah Zenesh. We think now of those whose memory shines for us and illumines our path. On this Shabbat, excuse me, I've just got to get the list up. We think of Anita Hurst, Russell Hurst's mother, Sarah Slotnick, Brenda Isaac's mother, Faye Sennett, Neil Sennett's mother, Alexander Aikins, Alan Aikins' father, and Gerald Chess, our own member. If there's anybody here that wants to mention anyone I've not said, then can you please unmute yourself?
I'd like to remember Ibukun Shadi Falash's husband, who died so recently.
Thank you, Bess.
And if we can add Barry Graham and Ivor Bloom, both related to members of this community whose funerals took place this week.
Thank you, Richard. For all of you that wish now to join in, if you're mourning someone, then please feel free to unmute and join in the Kiddush. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alama divara kurutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'meichon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah, mevarach li'alam ulamei alamaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpara v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitchada v'yitalei v'yithalal, shemei dekusha barichu. Le'elam min kol brichata v'shirata, d'shubachata v'nechemata, d'amirav bi'alama, v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu yasei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol b'nei Adam, v'imru amen.
So we're about to go into a piece that comments on and replaces Adon Olam, but I wonder, Eleanor, we didn't leave a place for announcements, and this could be a place for that.
We could, yeah, if there are official announcements that need to be made by anybody, by all means.
I think
Or you have a few moments while Mish sings to come up with the announcements, and we'll pause just before we do Kiddush afterwards.
I do have announcements. I don't know how official they are. Last time, if you wouldn't mind if I say them now. So I know I'm not a member of the Rosh Chodesh group, but I did go to one meeting during Hanukkah, and I was very, very pleased to do so. And thank you to all for this. Well, Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and then thank you for this service this morning, brilliantly put together. Student Rabbi Eleanor, it's a lovely service you put together, and thanks to everyone for all the writing, the reading, and everything you put into this morning. It's very special indeed, and just to be cheeky, if the words that you spoke out Eleanor, could be somehow put on our Facebook community page or somewhere, it'd be very interesting to reread again. But thank you all. It's been really moving and really effective. Thanks. Tomorrow evening at 7:30, we have our quiz led by Rachel Kamal and Russ. Rachel has done such a lovely part of this morning, and please register on the update. And we know that with Rachel doing the quiz, we get lots of lovely giggles, so please join us. Monday to Friday morning during the week at 11, we have our 11s group, which is the chat and coffee or tea or whatever, hosted by either June or Gary or both. And Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock, we have our puzzle group led by Judy. This Thursday lunchtime, 12:30 to 1:30, Rabbi David will lead a lunch and learn session on preparing for Pesach. And looking a bit further ahead to two events coming up on this evening of 17th and 31st of March, Rabbi Richard will be talking, will be leading two sessions on his parents' individual journeys from their birthplaces to obviously so they grow up and all their history, and it's quite fascinating, and it really covers the world. And please, I hope to be present for that. And on Sunday, March the 21st, as a bit of a contrast, we have our first Nitanata Sunday afternoons. All details on the update. I'll just thank you very, very much, all the Rosh Chodesh group. It's been a really special morning. Shabbat shalom to everyone. Take care, and thanks for letting me speak. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just chip in? I've got a note that I'm hosting Nitanata on the 14th rather than 21st. Is that wrong?
The date was shifted, Adrian.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks.
So we come to the official end of our liturgy, but hopefully not of our time together, as I then know that there'll be study opportunities after this. This is our replacement for Adon Olam this morning. She carries me, and I really hope you'll join in, but possibly not in that key. She is a boat, she is a light, high on a hill in dark of night. She is a wave, she is the deep, she is the dark, where angels sleep. When all is still and peace abides, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. And though I walk through valleys deep, and shadows chase me in my sleep, on rocky cliffs I stand alone. I have no name, I have no home. With broken wings I reach to fly. She carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. 1,000 arms, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 ears to hear my cries. She is the gate, she is the door, she leads me through and back once more. When day has dawned and death is nigh, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. She is the first, she is the last, she is the future and the past. Mother of all, of earth and sky, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side. She carries me, she carries me, she carries me to the other side.
Mish, thank you for bringing our service to such a beautiful musical conclusion. The service itself has finished. However, before we part company, let's make Kiddush together. So if you have wine or grape juice, and if you have challah, now is the time to grab hold of them, and we can make Kiddush together. I'll give everybody just a few moments to get hold of the things that they need or to resettle themselves. I can see movement still happening. So let's just give ourselves a few moments longer. I think I'm mainly seeing people who've been moving, sitting back down. So we'll begin gently. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekodsho. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael ot hi le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et HaShamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash. Al kein barach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat vaykadshehu. Therefore the Eternal One blessed the Sabbath and called it holy. So we take our wine or grape juice, whatever it is that you're making Kiddush on today, and we say, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, borei pari hagafen, l'chaim. And then if you have challah, whatever size challah you're having, I've got hand-sized ones, but you may have beautiful, large homemade. I don't know what everybody's got. I'm seeing different shapes and sizes appearing, which is lovely. And we can make the blessing over our bread. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, hamotzi lechem min ha'aretz. Joy, everybody. So I will make my own thank yous to echo the thank yous that have been before. Thank you so much to all the women of the Rosh Chodesh group who have given their voices today to make this service happening. I do have to single out Mish Sampson especially. Thank you so much for the music that has just brought an extra dimension to this service. Makes a wonderful difference. Thank you to Elliot and Ben for their tech wizardry that has kept us working correctly and all in the right place. It is such a wonderful thing to have it all work without any problems, so thank you. Thank you to Rabbi Richard Jacobi for allowing me to come and take over for the morning. It's very generous and I do appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who's been with us today. To those of you who've joined us on the live stream, I hope you've enjoyed the morning and will enjoy the rest of your Shabbat morning too, or Shabbat afternoon too. So I wish you Shabbat Shalom.